Hiya, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonfish Crafts and I hope you're doing okay. Now you may remember a few years ago when Game of Thrones was really popular at the time, there was a craze of putting thumbtacks or drawing pins in polystyrene eggs to make dragon eggs. Well, I thought at the time that was an amazing thing to do and I made a huge one. And I've proudly had it in my bedroom on a vase for well, 5 or 6 years. I loved it, but it was getting kind of grubby and it's really hard to clean. So I thought, well, it needs an update really. Now, a couple of weeks ago, when I made the dragonflies from Inions Arts, the first thing that came into my head was dragon scales. So I thought I could make a dragon egg with dragon scales. I had to do it. I just had to do it. I had 2 beautiful colours from Inion Arts and everything I use in this video will be linked in the description box below. So let's have a look how I got on with this dragon egg. So this is the egg that I made several years ago. It must be about 5 years old by now. And it was a craze at the time. I don't know if you remember on YouTube, it was a craze to put thumbtacks or drawing pins in a polystyrene egg and make a dragon's egg. And I was so happy I made this, but it's getting dusty, it's getting dirty. It's the polystyrene egg that I really want to use. It did take me quite a while to get all these drawing pins out. I didn't quite realise how many there were. Now that should have been a warning sign to me really. The top and the bottoms ones were stuck. They were the hardest ones to get out, but once I got all of them out, I was very happy that I had a polystyrene egg. So I need to start making this egg. I don't know if you remember, a couple of weeks ago I used Inions Arts dip resin and I thought this would be an ideal project for this dip resin. I still had some bits of wire that I'd cut and saved. I still had quite a bit of wire and I thought I'd have enough, to be honest. Little did I know how much I was actually going to need. So I'm starting off by making quite small circles in wire and I'm shaping them to what I think I would like as the shape of a dragon scale. That's my first one. I'm quite happy with the shape, and so it begins. Now in my head, thumbtacks or drawing pins are tiny, and although I needed a load for this dragon egg, I'll be making dragon scales that are bigger. I'm starting small, but I intend to get really quite large by the time I get to the bottom. So it shouldn't take that long. I knew I'd need quite a few, and I knew it was going to take me some time, but I was going to get bigger. And because you get bigger, you need less of them. So I've made a few as my first batch. And so far, I'm enjoying every minute of it. I then go up to a size bigger. Already I've only done a few and I'm going up to a size bigger. Now the hardest bit when making a dragon egg with thumbtacks is the start. So I figured the small dragon scales will go at the top of the dragon egg. As you can see by them scattered everywhere, I'd made quite a few and I thought, well, got quite a lot here. Let's start dipping. So I got out the purple, which was one of the ones I got from the dragonfly kit, and it is a gorgeous colour. This resin dries so quickly, by the time I got to the end of doing this, the beginning ones were already dry. So this is the fun part really, this is the quickest part of this process. is dipping. And once you've done it a bit, you get quicker and quicker. Now I know I speeded this up, but believe me, I was getting quicker. So I'd actually taken this egg to the garage and sprayed it as best I could with blue spray paint. Now spray paint does melt polystyrene, so I had to do it very gently, so it's not got a good coverage, but it's not white anymore. I didn't want white showing through in case I missed any areas. So to start with, the first few dragon scales that go in at the top need to cover the top but start the process of going round to the bottom. I very quickly realised that my stems were too long, and so I had to cut them down every time I put one in. The idea is that the next one you put in should be holding in place the previous one, so that they all hold each other in until you get to the bottom. That's the idea. I was struggling to hold the egg and cut the wire and put in the dragon scales until I realised that I just needed something to hold the egg up, and I found something. So the first few scales on the egg are kind of random. They're not really in any particular order. They just need to sit there so that I can start the process of going round and round. It is the hardest bit, starting off, realising where your scales need to go to start going round and round. Once you've got them in a place where you can go round and round, then it's simple. It's literally round and round. But it's the little starting part at the top that is a little bit confusing. I know it doesn't sound it. I'm probably making a mountain out of a molehill, really. And I did put a big, rather large one in there. Well, it shouldn't have been. Should have stayed with the little ones, really. But I'm getting to a point now where I'm starting to go round and round. Can you see? The next one sits over the top of the previous one, and the next one sits over the top of the previous one. Now, a few of them were moving. Really, I should have stuck the first one. But I got caught up in the moment and it completely slipped my mind, and by the time I realised I'd already put quite a few in, and I thought, well, it's in there now. It'll stay there. But the process was quite good fun. I really, really enjoyed the process of putting the dragon scales in. Now, believe me when I tell you that it would bore you to tears if you sat and watched me put every scale in. So I won't put you through that, but I'm happy with the first batch. So this was the following day. I'm doing this on my work day, so I have to wait until I get home from work. And I ran out of wire the previous day, so I popped into a craft store near me and I purchased some more wire. Now this wire came wrapped round a wooden stick, and consequently every time I pulled a length off and cut it, it was wrinkled, and I didn't want wrinkled dragon scales, so I was going to have to do something about that. And I thought there must be a quicker way to cut off bits of wire from this very crinkly stick. So I decided to do what I can only describe as a batch amount. I folded them all round and then I cut the ends off. So I had lots all the same size. This wasn't particularly the best idea, but it was at that time a quick idea. As I needed to make quite a few dragon scales, albeit in different sizes, I was trying to think of the quickest way I could do this. And this was one of my ideas. It was a little flawed because they were crinkled. Then I had to straighten them all out. Now luckily I had a pair of nylon pliers. These I purchased many years ago and they are for straightening out wire. I've never actually used them much, to be honest, but they came in very handy for this particular thing. That's what happens when you run out and have to make do with what you can get hold of. So I made another batch. I did lots of circles all the same size, and then I sat and made all of them the right shape for the dragon scales. I then wanted to bend them so that it was slightly bent. And after doing a couple by hand, I realised if I wrapped it around a bottle, it was instant. So yeah, bottle came in very handy, and I just wrapped them all around a bowl to make them slightly bent.
So now it's time for dipping, and this is my second batch. It's a lot bigger and bigger shaped dragon scales than the first batch, so I've enlisted some shadow foam to help me. A cut off piece of shadow foam just helped like you wouldn't believe. Yet another application for shadow foam. It just worked brilliantly. Then I decided to use some of the turquoise. By this time I was getting a little fed up with purple, would you believe? So I thought I'd put some turquoise in this dragon egg as well. It would make a nicer effect, I thought, than just purple. I've only got 2 colours of dipping resin. So yeah, I couldn't really do any other colour. So I put quite a lot in the turquoise as well. So this was the following day. Now apparently, if you want to double dip this resin, you have to wait for it to cure for 24 hours. So as I was going to bed, I'm a post lady, I needed to get up early. I thought, well, I'll leave it till tomorrow and then we can try double dipping. So I'm dipping the purple into the turquoise, just on the tip, so that we get 2 different colours on the dragon scale. And it's a little like nail varnish. That's the only thing I can think of actually. It kind of supples up the previous layer. Like if you put the second layer of nail varnish on, the first layer goes soft. It's kind of like that. I did try completely dipping one of them and it just melted the previous layer completely, even after 24 hours. So I didn't try that one again. But maybe if I'd left it longer, it might have been okay. But I weren't happy about that one. So I was dipping a little bit of turquoise onto the purple ones and a little bit of purple onto the turquoise ones. And if I just kept it to the edge, it wasn't too bad. You can see where it's kind of ruffling the first layer. But it's working, yeah, and I just had fun double dipping. If you want to know more about Inions art, I will make sure that it's listed in the description box below underneath the video. Then I went on to the purple, and I didn't like this one so much, the purple on top of the turquoise. I preferred the turquoise on top of the purple. The turquoise is quite a thin colour. You can see through the turquoise a lot more than you can the purple. And I preferred it the other way round, just a personal preference. Then it was time to put some more dragon scales in the egg. Again, I had to snip all the lengths and I started putting the turquoise in. Just a few odd ones here and there. But I was quite surprised how see-through the turquoise was compared to the purple. And you could see the blue egg through it quite considerably. But I was still going to go for it. I couldn't have just a purple egg. I think that would have been just too much, even for me that loves purple. So this is what it looks like right now. I keep making batches and I keep making batches, and the following day I spent the entire Sunday making dragon scales. I didn't realise how many I needed. I did find a quicker way to straighten the wire, however. I pulled quite a bit off at once. I used my nylon pliers and then I just snipped away. That did make things a lot quicker than trying to straighten every individual strand. And because I could hold the stick tight, I wasn't hurting my hands so much. But as I was batching the twisting of the wire round the round objects, I was getting sorer and sorer fingers. However, I didn't give up. It nearly broke me. I kept thinking, this must be the last batch, this must be the last batch, this must be the last batch, and it kept going and going and going. But eventually I got there. Just remember, if you're going to try this, use a smaller polystyrene egg, because it nearly broke me.
Before I show you the final egg, when I completely finished it, I will say this, I rushed it I had to get it done for this video. I was running out of time. I didn't quite realise how long it was going to take me. And it wasn't the dipping of the resin that took the time, it was the making of the little dragon scales in wire. My fingers are red raw. I got so many blisters on my fingers, it's unreal, because I was making so many and it nearly broke me. I nearly got to a point where I thought, why am I doing this? But I carried on, and it was a labour of love because the end result is not perfect. If you do this, please use a smaller size egg and start small, because it will still take you time, but you don't have to rush it. I had to rush it to get the video out, but you didn't have to. You can take your time with it, completely take your time. And I do suggest that every now and then you stick one of them with a bit of super glue to keep it in place, because I didn't have the time to do that and I wish I had done. I might take it all apart and reassemble it because it's a little bit wobbly in places. But having said that, I absolutely love it. I love the fact that I could make dragon scales all day long, albeit all day long. Anyway, let's have a look at the final piece.
I had a dragon egg, and although it's slightly wonky the way it sits, although some of the scales are wobbly and should have been stuck really, I can't believe how long it took me to do, but I absolutely love it. If you take away anything from this video, just take away the fact that you need to start smaller. This was massive. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this one. I hope you enjoy it. Come back and see me next week, because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week. Happy crafting, and bye for now.